Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Praise be to Allah, Lord of all the worlds, and peace be upon the best of those sent, Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, to whom we're indebted to Allah, first for His messenger and all the creation, and then the hidayah, the guidance and the direction on how to live a proper life in the world which was created by Allah. Just remember that the one that created everything is the one that's has the right and ability to give you an operator's manual, of how to live in that life that He created. For instance, if Ford Motor Company made a car, if General Motors made a car, when you look in the glove compartment, they have an operator's manual in there. Every car that's made, right? It's an operator's manual. And the one that have assembled all of that plastic, rubber, metal, wires and all of that together to make that machinery work, the one that assembled all of that is the one that, from its tests, trials, and all that's the one that has the ability to give you an operator's manual on how to run that. What type of oil to use with it, how it handles. Well, you get that when you go down to the showroom and there's a demonstrator on the floor. At least, do they still have that? If you go to the new car showroom, they have a demonstrator there. If you want to test drive that car, right? Okay, good. They used to have a demonstrator. That demonstrator, you wanted to buy a Cadillac, they had a demonstrator there. Now, I guess you want to buy a Benz or BMW, they got a demonstrator there. That demonstrator should let you see how this operates on hills, the braking system, its limits. And so you get a chance to drive that car around the city in various little environments and see how to handle curves and turns and what have you, to see how that operates. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of everything. And He gave us hidayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us guidance. And He gave us a demonstrator in Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You want to see how the human being should operate perfectly or well, right? You look at the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You look at him and you'll see how this handles on curves, in good times, in bad times, how to live with wives, how to live with husbands, how to treat your children. It has all that. It demonstrates, it's a demonstration of how to live in the environment, the creation. It's not just the environment. The environment is this stuff running around here. But the creation is this whole thing. How do you live in this creation? And how to get the best out of it. Now, there's a few little hidden things. Example, this is just not to get off the subject, but if you notice, all kind of natural people had mechanisms and they gave thanks to the Creator. Right, and we do too. When we say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, that means we're thanking Allah for taking that animal's life. That we're going to eat that, we're going to consume that, but it's just not, just didn't pop up there. That thing, that reality, that animal was created to serve a purpose in life. And part of that purpose was to help feed you. And the grass that was created to serve the animal that's eating it, right? Yeah, all those things. It's just not a haphazard thing. So we give thanks, and all original people gave thanks. And they always knew some of it was even distorted, but they had some thanks that they had to give something back. Like, for instance, sacrifices in Central America. They were distorted with their gods, but they figured God gave us this stuff, so we're going to sacrifice these virgins. Now, they're thinking in dumb human terms. Did men like virgins? So God is just a big something or other. So we're going to sacrifice these virgins for God. That's distorted. Not they'll live on purpose for the Creator, but remember, this religion is evolutionary. And so they hadn't evolved. They was back in the woods. But they had enough sense to know. Example, before Indians planted corn, guess what they would do? They would put a fish in the hole with the corn. And we learned that from just the white man's book said that. Indians was very spiritual and they, Well, if he's so dumb, if he's so smart to know that, then why he ain't got enough sense to know that if he takes something out of here over and over again, he's going to have to give something back, right? They knew that. I mean, not that it was fertilizer. Can you imagine the fish that they're putting in there? It's fertilizer. It's got calcium and the stuff from the bones of the fish, right? It's full of protein. I mean, hey, talking about fertilizer, there's no better fertilizer than you can put in that hole. And just what is it going to do? It's going to decompose. Fresh fish dropped in the hole with the seed, and that seed is going to spread out into a plant. And as it spreads out, it's going to surround that fish and suck all of the juice and the composition, right? That's why Indian corn they called it Indian corn. You know that spotted looking corn and all of that? It was the healthiest corn you could get because they had enough sense to know. Okay, I'll get back to the subject. The point is that all people knew that they were in the purview of something great, and they think that reality for giving them what they didn't take it for granted that we just got buffalo meat today. They was thankful for that, right? Now they went out and hunted it, but they know they didn't make it and put it out there running around eating up all the grass. They knew better than that. So there's an internal God-given reality in all creation. But the human being is distorted itself. We call it self-distortion. He's distorted himself. And in this last 100 and so years, he's gotten so far away from creation that he lives a plastic environment. Like when I grew up, everything that would decompose, and it was only a little while ago, 76 years ago. But in the country, like we had them big old wagons, cotton wagons and all of that. Believe it or not, I was born during that era. And that was going on when I was alive. That's what I remember. And so we had a pump outside. I don't know if you noticed some little movies, old Western movies, where they got their water from a pump. They went outside and they pumped it out. Some of y'all from the country and don't play like you don't remember, but some remember some of that stuff because it wasn't that long ago. Just because we was on the other side, Arkansas, Carolina and all that, Georgia and all that was about the same. But that pump, first of all, the water level got to be pretty high for you to dig a hole.
I remember we used to do this summer camp growing up.
Right.
We would go out to, I forget the name of the area in Virginia, but it's the woods.
Right, right.
All the water source out there is a pump, you know?
Right.
And I remember being out there, Tariq, go pump. I don't want to do that because
yeah, you had to pump that's right, pump the water out.
And you can't take no breaks because it goes like that.
And that fresh, man, that good old fresh, that water was so fresh and nice. Now they put it in a bottle, sell it to you for $100 a bottle. Right? Rain barrels where the water came off the roof and went right into your rain barrel. Right? Okay, the point is, during our lifetime, things have changed so drastic that it's plastic and unreal. You know, like nobody knows those simple things. Since they don't know those simple things, they don't know that there's water in the ground, right? There's a water level, and if you pump out too much water, you got to go down deeper. And if you keep pumping, if you stick automatic pumps on that, right? If wells used to go dry, just regular wells, then they drilling down now hundreds and hundreds of feet, some places thousands of feet, to get water. So they're using up all throughout the Midwest, Nebraska, that Oglala, they call it Oglala Aquifer or something like that. Anybody know the name of it?
I can't remember the name. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Oglala Aquifer. It's all that fresh water. That they got about 2 more weeks and it's going to be gone. All of that fresh water. Why? Because they pumping all that. They got super pumps. Hey. And now everybody, the farmers and everybody is saying, we only got a little bit left down there. And they know it. Right? So everybody's uncomfortable. But they're not too uncomfortable to keep using, to keep pumping. They just keep right on pumping. You know what I mean? Now, that's like the human being on top of the earth right now. The human being, I know we say it every week and all the time, but California is burning up. Arizona is burning up. Today, Ida, who is that Ida? That's a 4 hurricane. So right this minute, you can look on your phone. This probably hit the coast of Louisiana 4 or 5 minutes ago.
I was reading about it on the way.
Yeah. And that's a number 4 hurricane. And it's going to do a certain amount of damage. The only thing is we're getting 100-year hurricanes every other year now. Like these great disasters is happening every year. They used to be every 50 years, every 100 years. Do you know it's drier in California than it's been in over 1,000 years? And all the people on them big farms out in the valley, you notice on all the stuff you read here, It says California. All the vegetables, the cantaloupe, everything. The Imperial Valley, can you imagine that good soil in the Imperial Valley? Well, all of the California, that thing is a valley. You travel in California and you're going down Highway 99 or Interstate 5, north and south from Mexico to Canada. In California, the California part is a big valley, several hundred miles wide. And in that valley is where everything that we eat almost come from. Right? In that valley. In that valley, whenever they're talking about workers from Mexico and all of that, or when they talk about the Central Valley, that's all of that. There's hills on this side, hills on that side, and it runs down water and also good soil. It's been doing that for thousands of years. And now in the Central Valley, all of that's Bakersfield and all of those cities, all throughout Stockton, Sacramento, ain't nothing but farms all around that area, It's the great Central Valley. They've now, years ago, I used to be driving down through the Central Valley, going to LA or wherever, and I could see the farms out there. And you would see the pumps bringing up the water from the ground. And the farther you go back, the more water that was coming up. At first, it just bubbling out, and now, some of the farmers have to buy water because they don't have the money to drill down hundreds of feet. Before, they was going down 10 feet, 50 feet, just like when you dig a well, and that's probably around 20 or 30 feet underground, and then you put bricks around it, and that's your well. And then the water drains into that open space, and you drop a bucket down there. And that's the way people for the last 40 or 50,000 years got their water. Or they got it from the stream. Can you imagine when sometimes we go places, we're out in the woods where the water is fresh, and the kids see me drinking the water. Are you drinking that water? It has a bug, a little something floating. And I look at them like they're crazy. So what? All water has some. If you give them some water, it's got something floating in it, they wouldn't touch it. But you can't get no water out of the woods, right? Floating in a beautiful spring, and they don't know what good water is. That water in certain parts of the country, you know what I mean? Snow melt water, and it just runs down. You're talking about good water? It ain't Perrier, whatever that, any kind of white folks' water. Half the water, they go to the doggone tap.
Most of the
is tap water. Maybe they use a little filter. Maybe they use a filter, to filter out whatever it is, but some of it is 100% tap water. Some of it is, tons of it is regular old tap water. Okay? And if you take any of the modern children out in the woods or up in the mountains where there ain't nothing up there but fresh water, they think the lake is to swim in. They ain't even thinking about drinking that water. What? It's got, because if you hold it up in a glass, you'll see stuff floating in there. Well, what do they think? What in the heck do they think? I mean, I'm not complaining about young people. I'm just saying they watch old Western movies when the horses got to the stream, they drink, and guess what? The cowboy jumped down there too. The cows, the niggas, everybody drunk from the water, right? That's the only place they got water. They didn't have no bottle. They would have thought you was crazy if you would have pulled out a bottle of water. Well, a canteen if you're out in the desert with water. But they got that water out of the point I'm saying is this. Things have become unnatural and distant from reality. As we said before, when the Indians planted corn, they call it Indian corn or spotted corn, they dropped a fish in the hole. And a lot of people would think that's because they were superstitious. Well, I'll be doggone. They don't have no sense. The fish decomposes, right? And the plant is sucking up all that calcium, bones, the fish bones decompose, the scales decompose. That's why the corn was so healthy, Indian corn, you know what I mean? Because, instead of eating the fish, they planted the fish. And the fish gave them all that big healthy corn. One fish in the hole, right? Mixed with the dirt and water was fertilizer. Now, I don't suppose you could get any better fertilizer than that. I'm saying that the human being, not many generations ago, was closer to the Creator. Was closer to the Creator because the natural environment. And all Africans and all people of color all over the world thank the Creator for everything. Even Christians, they sit down. Remember when we was kids, you had to ask the blessing, right? Yeah. Thanksgiving. They thanking themselves, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. But Jesus wept. Whatever it was, you had to say blessing. You were thanking God for taking the life of whatever it was you took and whatever came up out of the earth. You knew that all of this stuff was from the bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Okay. Have you seen your children do anything like that? Or do they do anything? They don't even know what you're talking about. Right? They might do it, but it's just some ritual. It don't mean nothing. It don't mean they're not really thinking about what they're talking about. This is the way things are today. And the whole world, we don't have to talk about the destruction of the earth and what have you. We all see that. But we have a certain mission. And you have to realize in our stages, we have fulfilled, hopefully, our mission. On my 75th birthday, it was a guy called me on the phone. I don't know where he got my phone number. Don't you remember me? I said, no, not right offhand. Now I'm in Starbucks, so I'm talking loud. I'm not paying attention to how I'm talking. Don't you remember last time I saw you was at the train station in Germany, and they stole our luggage and what have you? I said, you mean in 71? He said, yeah, that was me. This is a Negro. He had long hair, and the white folks, we're in Germany and in other places now that hate Arabs and Negroes, but they used to love them. Denmark and Sweden, shh, The Negroes in the army down in Germany, when they would go on rest and recuperate, whatever it was, they'd go up to Germany, and them white girls, them niggas didn't have the access to white women, and they'd go up there with them girls, and you go into any Angela Davis's sister had a big fundraiser up there, probably raised more money is in the 70, probably 71, than anything over here. I went to the fundraiser. But now imagine, the Negroes was down in Germany, in the army. And all the people in those days was not volunteers, what they call it, they was inductees, whatever they call it, drafted. They drafted them Negroes. And the Negroes 100% colored. You talking about DAP and all of that? Boy, look at here. I was thinking, when I'd visit the Negroes in Germany on those concerns and the clubs they'd have around, I said, man, them niggas is black right there. I mean, they was really just in culture of just hand slapping and stuff. And I went up there, and somebody stole my luggage at the train station in 71. And the guy that was with me was one of them guys. He was a nice looking guy, said he was from LA, and he had, talking about a natural, them extra, whew. So the white people would walk up to him, his head stayed sore. Because white folks would be wondering, how can you get your hair to stick up like that? Because they just won't, you know what I mean? You would have to have wires in it. You know what I mean? Just think, the white mind. And then it wasn't that many black people in Europe at that time. So they just knew it had to be something, wires or something that they, So they would walk up to a nigga with a thing like that, and they'd look around. They snatched that nigga's head, and that poor boy's head was sore. Now I wore a short haircut, so I didn't have that problem. But that Negro, man, he was almost be crying, because you can't do nothing to the people. They just, and half of them would be women, because a man ain't gonna put his hand on no other man. You know what I mean? He got enough sense to know better. But them girls, they'd follow you, and they would look, and they'd be talking. That's how does that happen? What is the law of dynamics and the gravitational pull? They'd be talking everything. How can that happen? You know what I mean? They didn't know that you could stick your head out of a window going 100 miles an hour as a nigga, and your hair would blow just a little bit, but that's about it. Right? You could shake your head and it'll pop right back the way it was. I mean, they just didn't know. So, but anyway, he called me. This is over 50 years later. I don't know where he got the phone number. And I'm so-and-so, don't you remember? And he sounded like a drunk by then. You know where you have a certain sound that the government haven't been keeping him up, Well, that was his job. I would say he was a stooge at that time, and he traveled with me. No, I traveled with him because Christmas of 71, we went down. Both his parents was in the Army. One was in the Air Force, and one was in the Army. They was Kaiserslautern. I don't know if y'all ever heard about it. They call it K-Town. It's a big concern, military. So I had been in Africa, and I was over there in Europe, and I was getting ready to come to South America, and there was a period in between. And I had brought a little marijuana and stuff with me from Africa. I didn't smoke it in Africa because I just stopped. It was, we used to call it, I call it tanzanite, like kryptonite. That's how bad it is. It's unbelievable. Other people call it ganji and bangi and stuff like that. I guess it's like the marijuana they have now. It was unbelievable. I couldn't smoke it. When I was in Africa, I couldn't smoke it. It's just no use for it. The other Negroes, man, you wouldn't believe it. I'll get back to the point in a minute. But on the Indian Ocean, they had that green water, and the powdered sand was this high. So the Negroes would smoke that weed, and they would be humming the black nationalists. Back home, they's in heaven. I said, good God. I said, I can't do it. But when I went to Europe, and we zipping down the what's the name? The canal is over here, and and I said, let me try some of this. And I said, oh yeah. I realized what it was. I was Europeanized. I was Americanized. I didn't like it in Africa. Everybody else did, but I didn't like, because they wasn't I was Europeanized. Oh, driving in the ride with the sounds on, right, and the river going down by the river. I thought, oh, okay. So I stopped giving it away. I just give it away. I call it tanzanite, like kryptonite. From Tanzania, of course. Man, you got any more of that? So anyway, I'll get back to the story. At that time, the people there, especially the Negro, called me on the phone that I used to hang around with there. We did a little traveling together. And he hadn't talked to me 71. Shoot, he hadn't talked to me in 50 years. Right? He hadn't talked to me in 50 years. I don't know where he got my phone number. But yeah, this is me. So and we're in the Starbucks, and I'm talking loud, and the kids are saying, Dad, everybody. So I went outside. This was on my 75th birthday, so that was last year on my birthday. Remember when we was at the train station? Remember what the point is that the police been on my case ever since then. Before then, I knew who I was traveling with, and I knew what was going on. I knew who he was. And I met some of my brother's friends over there. And I knew, or I figured out who they was. I know that one of them, he was a real black Negro, and he went somewhere. And he had a white wife, a girlfriend, and he said, well, and I was staying with him. He said, yeah, well, you stay here. So the girl was left there. He left her there with me, like people, for me to get off the dusty list, because the police, when they following you, they study this guy haven't had sex in a while. So they set you up so you don't get too nervous or something. That's what they do. I'm telling you, that's what the boss man do it all the time. So anyway, in fact, that's who I went to see Angela Davis's sister with. I took them to a fundraiser in Copenhagen because we lived outside of town where the Danish kings used to live. It's called Roskilde. And it was a place where I was really learning culture. Because it would take the train maybe 20 minutes, half an hour to get in the center of Copenhagen. And walking from the house to the place, I would see all the little red-cheeked little white babies in the morning, in the winter, in baby carriages. And they'd have little things hanging down, they'd be playing. I said, man, this is child cruelty. This is what I was thinking. But they do it. It's all the people acclimatize their children to cold. Another thing I saw, you know them clogs that have the heel out, the wooden heel, so all that stuff? The construction workers would be working with their heel out in the winter, like they with clogs. They would be wearing clogs. Because they acclimatized to, you know how cold a Negro get cold if it get below 50 degrees, this nigga go get an overcoat, you know, and all that stuff, sleeping all under the covers. But them white folks, it's not that they just could take more, they acclimatized, they bundle their little babies up, and they set them outside in the front of every house. You go by the house, I said, boy, these white folks is some cold white folks up here for the first couple of days. Then I realized, oh, because the babies ain't oppressed. They just playing. They got a little something hanging down, a little yellow bird or something. I said, boy, I tell you, but they acclimatized. It taught me something, that no matter how hostile the environment, if you train to live in it, right, you live in it comfortably and everybody else is miserable and dying. But if you train to live in an environment, right, that's what the talk is about today. The environment that we've been living in, we've been trained to live in it. Everybody else, nobody would do like, we're getting ready to take some steps forward, but where we have been already, we have mastered, okay, I would say we are an example of what Negroes can stand in America. We have outlook, I'm telling you, believe it or not, Malcolm X lasted from 52 to 65, 13 years. And that's it. Martin Luther King, 56, 55, 56, the bus boycott down there, and 68. Another 12, 13 years, right? That's why we always talk about longevity. Martin Luther King in his last speech said, he mentioned it. He said longevity, does anybody remember that, has its place. But he already knew. Somebody called him on the phone and some of those, he got the call. He knew, okay, I'm a dead nigga now. You could tell on his face, you could tell how he's talking. He already knows he's a dead man. Malcolm had a talk with him years before. You know what Malcolm told him? Malcolm called him a glorious fool. That's what he told King. You're a glorious fool. They had a good human conversation, but Malcolm told him, he said, well, whatever it is, me and you is dead, that's for sure. Me and you, we dead men. Don't you worry about that. Right? He was telling the truth. Me and you, hey, we can call it a day. I don't care what you like, whether you want to be here, lovely children, it don't make no difference. Me and you, it's all over. So Malcolm had some insight. We have been here doing what we're doing, and I mentioned those things way back because there's a time when you become conscious, really conscious. That was the era when I became conscious of the real environment. I left America, but when I left America for certain reasons. I knew what I was doing here, these Stoking Enterprises, trying to help black people, and we would mention things like, well, the white man got you on the board, the chessboard. In other words, you know, Basically, you can call it a day. Well, I wasn't taking that. I had a certain idea. I had already saw how they was doing Negroes. They take every Negro, tie him behind a carriage, the thing, and drag him down the street in front of everybody. Not physically, but psychologically. Every hero, right? They would do that if they could. And I said, they ain't gonna do that to me. Not that I was gonna try to avoid this or avoid that, but I was gonna do that, and the white man ain't gonna do that to me. So far, this is way over 50 years from that time, and they ain't did it. For that, I am super, double, triple, quadruple thankful and grateful. Technically, it's not from me, it's from Allah. But there's a hadith that's saying there's no petition between the dua of the oppressed and Allah. And although at that time it wasn't a dua, it was just an arrogant nigger with an idea. I ain't letting that cracker do that to me. Later it becomes a real dua where you know. But even when you enter that foolishness, you still know, if you're from the old days, you know Allah is God. You know that, you already know that, But it takes you a little while to get there, because you might want to go through everything, communism, socialism, niggism, black net, right? You got to go through all of that. What we did is we went through all of that, and we only kept those things that were good. So if you looked at our lectures from 81 and all that, we always talked about the Long March. Anybody know what the Long March is? That's China. The Long March. Boy, that was serious what they did. I was saying that we have that same thing to do here. And I made a research that the problem we had was different than the revolutions in Africa and Asia. They had time and they had location on their side. They had location because they were from that area. And the white man came from somewhere else and was oppressing him. So whether it's so-called Malaccan terrorists in Indonesia and all of that, they were all from there, right? And the revolutionaries could all go out in the woods and hide. They could take off their revolutionary garb and snatch a hoe and and the white man wouldn't know, right? Okay. When I studied our situation, we didn't have that. First of all, by that time we had moved into the cities by the millions, and there was no place to hide. And we were products of this system, so much so that if you was hiding from the white man, eventually you're going to bump into a Negro that's going to tell on you. And not only that, boss man was marrying. See, the average person thinks, well, nobody would marry somebody just because the white man told them. That's absolutely wrong. In the movement, they have a whole system. I was watching, you got an all African Revolutionary Party, You look at them. Sister Bahia and all of them belonged to the All African Revolutionary Party, whatever it was, and their job was to flirt with Negroes. As they said to me in their own words when they think I didn't know what they was talking about, it looked like that was our job almost. It was their job. Because her husband used to do the main running of Kwame Ture. Yeah, sure, of course. And all the rest of them. So Then thankful means that by the time you're acquiring not only information, but the structure. I knew years ago when I was down in Bolivia, when I came back over here, I went to Mexico for a while, did a little something, then I went down to South America because our goal then was to become distributors of cocaine in the United States, which that's what we became. It wouldn't be speed like crank. It wouldn't be this, that marijuana was too big, you know. And so what's the most harmless thing? In those days, 100 years before crack, was hydrochloride, cocaine. And the only people used it was who? White folks and wealthy people. All entertained. Everybody, you had to be rich. You couldn't be no broke. 1 spoon, 1 gram was $100 of whacked up cocaine. So now what, suppose you're going to bring in and keep it close to pure, not pure, because that'd just be, the people would, it'd run them crazy, pure. So you just going to put 1 cut on it. 1 cut. In fact, that's the way I liked mine, with 1 cut on it. I did. It's like snorting glass. You know, it's pure cocaine. I don't know if you ever seen it. It had them ridges in there. It's like snorting glass. You know. So if you put a little mannitol with it, it softens it up. And it's very good. Anyway, not very good now, but it was very good then. It doesn't make a distinction now. It's very good then. But anyway, so that was our idea. I told the party. We met, Elders was there, Pete O'Neill was there. What's the name that's up there? Sekou, everybody was there. And I told them we was in Algeria. I said, well, if we're going to have a revolution, first of all, their behavior was non-revolutionary behavior. Non-revolutionary in 97%. And the leader in that behavior was Eldridge Cleaver. I went to his house one time, and we on the side of Algeria has hills. When I was in Tanzania years later, Pete O'Neill gave me a telescope because I was saying, yeah, I just like to take the binoculars and look at the ships in Dar es Salaam in the harbor and everything. So he said, I give you such and such. So he gave me, a telescope, not a big giant. And I could sit there and I could look at I could see the face of Chinese on the boat. I could see their face. It was for looking at the stars. So I was in Eldridge's house a couple of times. I said, hey, man, why was that telescope always pointing down? Because a telescope, you go in anybody's house, they leave it as pointing up, right, toward the stars. I said, why was this always? I said, I remember it was always pointing down. He said, the nigga is a peeping Tom, looking in ladies' windows. It was pitiful. That's Eldridge Cleaver. He really, and now everybody knows that. But they didn't know it then. Now, so we're going through revolution. And it was some good brothers. I had wonderful discussions with them. In fact, the shift to cocaine came as one brother said away, Michael Tabor. Anyway, I would talk to him. I said, no, the people is going to help America. the revolution is going to be black dope dealers, black gangsters. He said, ha, ha, ha. He said, my uncle is one of them Negroes. I cannot see it. He was right, of course. But I was younger than all of them. I was younger than all of them. So I was more optimistic. I was 25, 26 maximum at that time. And I'm coming now to really get involved in revolution to make things happen. And I'm telling them, no, see, it's a lot of Negroes like me. None of them ever made it over there. None of them, they just didn't do it. They brought Superfly out the next year. The niggas was Superflying, and it didn't work out like I thought. But one good thing happened is that we wanted to have a thing that would get money from the wealthy, and we could transfer it to the poor, and we could buy big guns, bomb, whatever you want to buy. And that was cocaine, because we had a meeting at the headquarters, and they said, well, do you have any of those connections? And I said, no, but shoot, we'll get them. I'll do it myself. You know, and I was hinting that, well, we could have a little bit of help. We all could send 2 or 3 of the brothers, and we'll hook it up. And they, of course, half of the brothers was definitely on my side, but they couldn't say it because it was against the principles of the party. Man, that's deep. I said, yeah, well, I said, but, you know. I said, how y'all going to sit here and say, now, where do y'all go every day? Rue de Douche Morad. What do they have down on the Rue de Douche Morad? Well, hashish and all that. I said, and y'all are high all day long, all of y'all, everybody. Let me find somebody that don't get high. Let me find somebody out of y'all. Because remember, I'm there for revolution. I done threw everything out. I'm there ready to go. I'm stripping all bad habits. I'm training myself for a mission. This is a new mission. I'm going to be the financier, and I'm going to help this, because I know y'all run off with no money, and the niggas didn't send y'all no money. That's the saddest thing you can imagine. When you put your life on the line for people, and when you run off the next day and you're not on the news anymore, that was sad. They didn't get money from back home. Every other people, the people inside the country, sent money outside the country to help their revolutionaries. Not America. When you left America, if you was broke when you left, you was at imagine you go somewhere. I'm going to get to the point in a little while. Imagine you go somewhere, you don't have any degrees or ways to make money, and if you have a degree, you can't use it. Like, remember I asked y'all about look up Dr. John Branyan? Well, he couldn't use his name. I'm Dr. John Branyan. So he called himself Arthur McCoo. I said, Doc, good God Almighty, Arthur McCoo. Well, that was one of my friends up in Montana. I said, was it a white friend or who was it, Doc? Doggone. Arthur McCoo. What about Johnny Johnson or somebody? Anybody but Arthur McCoo. And I'm going to just change the subject for a minute, and then Doc tell you how, no, I didn't kill my wife. This is what happened. I said, Doc, that looks like one of them movies on TV, you know, them white folks movies where they have a big scheme to kill. I didn't kill my wife. I said, we believe you, of course. You said you didn't do it. Then later on, here come a young tender flying in. I said, well, Doc, I mean, you know, it's okay with me. I mean, you know, by that time we're in East Africa. Nice, tender, you know, and all that. I said, well, Doc, it's a case of chickens coming home to roost. I said, girls come home to roost. Everybody, boys come home to roost. Anyway, the point is that there's a historical process going on. And sometimes there's a few people or one or two that's elected or selected to survive. Survive intact. A few people may survive, but you won't hear nothing from them. Some of the brothers in New York, they just got out of prison years ago. But after 30-something years in prison, you don't hear nothing. We don't go say, man, that show is cold all that time you do. That might have been the deal. Because I asked one of my friends, we always, Big Hank, so we take people a few dollars. Can't do it nowadays. It's a few. I mean, it's really a few, some grands or something, but it ain't no like the old days. Yeah, man, I got tired of my lawyers trying to get me out, so I hooked it up myself. I didn't say nothing. Until, I don't know if y'all remember the little Iranian guy that was here. They wanted to do a big program, so I called one of my friends and said, yeah, we want to do a big program. They want to put you this, that, another. The agreement was he wouldn't do none of that. You see what I mean? That's the way it is. I didn't say, man, that's cold-blooded, because I ain't never did no 33 years in the 30-something years in the penitentiary. I just do 3 or 4. I was just lucky. Do 3 or 4, 5 years, something like that. But I would go in and I would get out. And I did it a few times, but I never did they got back-breaking time. And after you in so much time, your cells in your body, everything changes, they say, every 7 years. Do you know between 5 and 7 years, there is not a complete change, unless you're a Muslim, but there's a serious change in the psychic and the behavior of a person that's been in prison that long. Why? Concrete and steel, routine. Pretty soon, right, your cells change, but also your whole reality changes. And it's usually between 5 and 7 years. I never did that much time. I would do, I think I might do 3 or 4, or 2 or something. I mean, I do a lot of it every now and then, but I never did no, you know what I mean? No long stretch. So I was never going to be an idiot to tell somebody, man, you only did 10 years and throw you, now you're acting funny. Or a little old 30 years, a little old 30 years, 30 years? I've been here over 30 years. I've been here in D.C. over 30 years. Imagine somebody being away that long. Away, all that period. Anyway.
They just said one of the Weatherman Underground.
Well, underground.
White guy.
That's a long time back.
Cuomo just I guess pardoned him. He was like one of the white guys that.
Was he one of the recent ones, like 75, or some of the Weather Underground got hit in the early 70s?
I think he was an early set. He did. I think he's going on his 30th. He was one of the ones that was in the armored car where he's supposed to kill 2 police officers.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that.
Yeah.
But Cuomo just pardoned him. He's not out yet.
Right.
He's been in there for that long.
Okay, see, I would never talk to anybody like, man, you did look 15, 20 years, now you snitching and all that. I wouldn't even think about that because I know what happens to people after so many years. And not only that, it's some people. I remember when I was in Leavenworth, one of the little guys, a little Spanish guy, he was a Puerto Rican, and the other one of my friends, Henry Soto, was, we grew up together in prisons. One of his friends was one of the Puerto Rican Liberation Movement. They had pictures together and everything. This is 75 or something, and he introduced me to him. We were in the pen together, and 75 or 76, they shot up Congress in 1950. This is 25 years later. They offered them, if they say we're sorry or something, they could get out. They didn't, especially the woman. The woman said, forget it. I said, shoot, I just say sorry. You don't have to mean it. You know what I mean? Just do like kids. Say you're sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Say it like you mean it. I'm really, really, really sorry, right? They say, oh, no. We're not sorry. We're sorry we wanted to be free. So they might have got out some years later, but I'm telling you, during the revolutionary period, we didn't have a lot of things that the revolution would produce. For instance, we lived in black neighborhoods, and the white man knew everybody and had snitches. There was already billions of snitches all over everywhere. They just tell on each other and tell on everybody. It's just normal. And so we didn't get a chance, like to develop, like they always talked about Mau Mau's and everything. Mau Mau's had a real oath that they had to take. And a lot of them, when they would get under torture, they would break that oath. Okay, if you catch so many Mau Mau's, right, they're going to do this to you and that to you. And pretty soon, they're going to send you somebody that's been in prison 9 years, and they're going to send them back to Kenya, and they're going to give them their liberation. And the first thing he going to say at his speech in 1961 basically is, I want to assure white people that everything's going to be all right. And one place we never went, the African Americans in those days, was Kenya. Why? Because Jomo Kenyatta, the burning spear, he'd send you back to America. Why? Because Kenya, and if you wanted to see a white woman, a white man could kick a black woman in her behind in Nairobi in those days. It wasn't no big deal. You couldn't do it. And there's other African, you couldn't do that. You couldn't do that. And one of the most famous scenes I remember, it must have been 71, about 71 at the Africana Hotel. Africana is now, just imagine a nightclub out on the beach. And it's really, there's no day-to-day, hardly no, but there are a few Africans there. Cutie Pie Airlines stewardesses, and all of that. White folks. It's out on the beach, the Africana. The African Wananchi can't afford that. He can't afford it. One drink is more than his whole salary. So anyway, all the Negroes, we out there, and we're basically partying. So there's one of the Negroes that was on the run from Florida. He was he was a sharp Negro. And when I was in Florida, I was in jail with his son for a minute. And I asked him how his daddy was one of them Negro preachers, not Reverend Ike, not quite that big, but he was up there. So he was older than us. He was sharp. And in Africa, you couldn't carry no pistol. They would, so he carried a panga. I don't know if y'all know panga. Like the Maasai warriors, they carried a panga, big long. So he carried a panga because he used to do the tombola. He had a little gambling thing out on open air gambling. All the tables is there where you choose whatever it was. You choose a pea or a card or something. He kept busy like that. So it wasn't to make money because you're gonna in East Africa, but you would stay up on the custody. He was smart. So he had a sister, not a sister. His little woman was about 20 years old. Her name was Dot. So we was at this big thing. Look at here. We was out there dancing and partying. So big old German. Place was full of Germans and everything. And Germans is big old crackers, at least these was. So I'm dancing with Chris's, with Dot. So the German come up and say, I want to dance with you. She just, she's from here, so she could spin him on off. Go on about your business. So he comes back after a while, and he stands between me and her. I want to dance with you. So right away, I'm a Negro in mid-20s, and 200-some pounds, still lifting iron. So I cut loose on him. At that minute, the whole place erupted. And all them big old Germans jumped up. And when I was out there doing my business, he's standing back, and he had his panga out. And in peripheral vision, you see a stool come at you, and it never hit you. This was happening to me all while I'm fighting. So Crestfield was there, and them white folks would have them chairs trying to hit me, and he was whacking them. I said, Crest, you was hitting them with that panga? A few minutes later, them white folks was dragging each other out. It looked like Vietnam. I said, man, this is pretty serious. So the next day, I was at the New Africa Hotel. Not New Africa. Kilimanjaro. One of them. So anyway, pretty little airline stewardess walked up to me and said, tat, 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 tat. I saw you last night. I said, well, hey, all right, that's fine with me. Nice looking girl. She was a Chaga. Chaga is yellow people. The yellow tribe up there. That's the way it goes, So anyway, the point is this. Everywhere I went, the Sikhs, the Indians, Buana, Buana, Buana. We saw you out there. That was like the biggest thing. They never saw white folks whoop like that. They just didn't believe that black people could. Do you know a few years later, when we asked, what do y'all need? You know what they told us? The struggle's still going. Said black exploitation films that shows black people whooping white folks. So you don't need notice that. We don't need that. All we need is so they can see that it can be done. Okay. That's the same thing we've done this go round. It just took 500 years to do it. Well, 50 years. We've been doing this all the time. We done fought Boss Man to a standstill. You got to remember. And he used everything in his arsenal. Psychological warfare, tattletale Negroes, property confiscation. It ain't nobody, I'm just saying, there's nobody in the United States ever come close to all of that in combination. If so, who was it? In the United States. Over a period of time that put up with all of that stuff over a long period of time with a good attitude. Not paranoid, not mean, not nothing. That is from studying our environment. Thus, from studying our environment in detail. When you study your environment, it gives you an input. And this discombobulation or learning how to maneuver and manage the system, I'll say the white man, is because you've been studying it. It's not an accident. This is not an accident. Of course, everybody know it. But to do it with what the white man called with gusto and almost happiness, where you lead, mislead, you guide and you misguide. And you study your mark better than he studies you. You got to be on the money because he has everybody with him. Everybody's on his team. That's the first thing you got to remember. But that's the first thing you know. You know, boss man got folks on his team. And then how are you going to use that to your advantage? You're going to use it to a disadvantage to him. You do all kind of things. I'm telling you, all of this stuff is possible and it's a reality, and we did it right in front of everybody's face. So everybody would know this can be done, it should be done, and now we're getting ready to take it to a final level. Not final level, but another level for where we are in the time in which we live in. Okay, included in that is forecasting, expectation, anticipation, and all that. All those things we've talked about, and we've written articles and all that on that. Anticipation, anticipating. Now you got to remember, boss man is here in America. And he don't recognize that he ever lost nothing, no fight or nothing. Of course, he done lost every fight boss man had recently. But you got to remember what he thinks about himself. When he goes down, he's going to be whooped 9 or 10 times. When boss man, that's the punch drunk, the pug nose, you know what I mean, cauliflower ears, right? That's what he got now. So he been bad so long, he never lost nothing so long, he would swear that ain't no loss. Korea, we ain't lose no Korea. Forget it. And he oppressed the people. We still oppressing them, so how are they going to be the one to win it, right? Vietnam, it ain't no loss. He just wait a couple of weeks and then he recast it and resell it to himself. No loss. Then he have the Gulf War in 91 and he said the Vietnam syndrome is dead. Do y'all remember that? The Vietnam syndrome, that loserism is dead. Then he come back 2 weeks later and get the snot whooped out of him. The snot, where he's snot, when you're getting beat so bad you have slobber. Snot, you can't, hey man. That's what's happened to Boss Man. That has happened in front of everybody. Everybody's seen it. We've been a part of that. And for our size and what we have at our disposal, we done played it better than others. Others are doing a good job, but they're not doing any better job than we are. If we had we don't want to say if. Everybody's doing their job. Like, for instance, Iran is doing an excellent job because they got 75 million tattletales too. They got the whole Savak just joined up. We see them and we could predict what they was going to do. We did it right here, so and so, da 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 da, right? And they know it over there, but they so they're not imprisoned by. But if they were to crack down on all these snitches, the people would they couldn't be all. But if you have an election, you look who's on the house arrest. 2 or 3 presidents passed, right? They on the house arrest. You ain't heard nothing from them. They on the house arrest. They on the house arrest. Those people know. Musavi, he was a minister. Musavi was so bad, he canceled out a $11 billion debt that Iran had economically. He managed the economy so well. During the war, he canceled out an $11 billion debt that Iran had to America. Canceled it out. While under all of this other stuff. So the guy is serious. But then he come up with the greens and we could do it this way or that way. Right? And so-and-so, what is it he's talking about? Not cooperating with America, but that's that confrontation of cooperation. That's one that was more care. But what do he want? Dialogue of civilizations. Dialogue of civilizations. Okay, you ain't heard from him lately. Right? He was the president. Where's he at? Well, they got ways of doing stuff. They're not doing bad. They're not doing bad at all. And for what they're involved in, when Palestine get hit, they're there for Palestine. Palestine is Sunnis. Lebanon is holding on, and I don't know what they did to Lebanon. They did everything you can. That's serious stuff, right? Yemen, what? Who could hold on to? And they ain't batting an eye. They ain't even close to, well, we give, we quit. The Saudis might be talking that, right? But they're not. Oh, no, we here to stay. You wanted to get over here? Come on. Yeah. Okay. So you got to remember, Syria, half of the country is in Europe, and the other country is destroyed. It's not but 2 or 3 blocks that's still a city. The ancient markets from Babylonian times, destroyed. All that stuff. The greatest market in the Middle East almost, except for the one in Tehran, is finished. Destroyed. All artifacts, they stole all artifacts from Syria, from Iraq. This is the Hanging Gardens of Babylon stuff. Mesopotamia stuff. Stuff that you can't replace. The U.S. said, go ahead, you can have all of it you want. And steal oil too. Can you imagine right now the U.S. is still in Syria? They just hold on to a little piece so they can pump the oil out and give it to somebody else or use whatever they want for themselves. Can you imagine? And they think they're going to get away with it. They're not getting away with it. They haven't got away with it. And then recently, the U.S. is, because sometimes it hits you real quick, sometimes it slip up on you. But when you look up right now, the poor United States has nowhere to go and nobody there when they get there. It's just pitiful. But that's the path. They won't repent. It's been the same thing throughout history, you know. But see, people now are so modern, they don't repent. That's biblical, that old Quranic stuff. See, they think that they push all these buttons and this stuff, poof, 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 and God don't exist anymore. God don't exist anymore. I could push a button and the thing comes on and that's, what are you talking about? God, a mystery God, all right. Yeah. But the pattern, what does it keep doing? The sunnah of Allah, that pattern keeps rolling on out. And the U.S. has bitten the dust. Now, I'll get to where we want to be in a minute. But we're playing a part in this. We're on the front row seat. We've been in the front row seat. It don't make no difference what nobody say. Everybody knows it. You know what I mean? We've been in the front row seat. And we've taken our position, and we did it in such a way that we can clown boss man and his helpers. I mean, you got to remember, what method will you use? So out of all of these 50 years, you go through different periods yourself. What will we use during this decade, couple of decades? Well, we're just going to clown boss man. We're just going to clown him. Boss man and his helpers have been clowned. Clown, made the fools out of. But happy fools, you know, like, remember, in the way, whatever way we do it, we have to have kindness. We have to have optimism. We have to have all of those, that we write that ourselves. Right? All that forgiveness and love and stuff, well, Allah says, I have I have ordained for myself the rule of mercy. Right? Yeah. Okay, we ain't that. But what I'm saying is, whatever we have control over, right, whatever we're working toward, we have to study the whole history, and we can't be pulled this way or that way. The decisions we make have to be basically on the money. There's no room for, you know what I mean? Because, see, our rule is the same thing. We have to keep hitting the point over and over again, and eventually, people will say, them niggas is right. Them niggas is right. Good God Almighty, them niggas is right. They may not do it. We don't lose nothing. All we have to do is our job. And that's why you got to remember, it's mentioned over and over in the Quran, to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's not your job, it's not your responsibility. It's our job. We're al-Hasib, the accountant. We're going to keep track of this, right? Now, when I say keep track, that means we have to keep score, but we're not that type of score. We're keeping score for what we're dealing with boss man. We're keeping a record. And we've been keeping this, and the records have patterns also. So sometimes all you got to do is keep a record of things, and pretty soon the patterns will evolve. The historical patterns evolve, right? And you have to use the things that against boss man that he happily will use against himself. There's simple things like arrogance and numbers. You can't do this. All the niggers are on our side. All the niggers, and we chew these niggers up and spit them out. And that's why we'd always tell people at every program, don't be careful about boss man, right? We've been saying for years. I don't never remember a time when we didn't say it. We learned it from being in prison. When boss man finish with you, he gonna throw you in the cell house with everybody else, cause you done told on you can't tell on nobody else. And then boss man had promised you a big get out early, a lot of money, and you think they think the cracker's gonna pay them, and they go at the warden. I'm going home. Where's my $5 million? The warden started laughing. Nigga, what is wrong with you? Oh, go see the FBI. They'll take care of you. On the way to the FBI offices, nigga's car turn over, right? And everything else, right? His mama's dead. I'm just trying to tell you, this is what happens. It don't have nothing. So imagine if you're making a decision. Well, the rebellion's over. So we have to make what are we going to do? Maybe nobody else is making that thought, but you're making it. So you have to be genuine. You have to take all the real, now if you are idealistic, because I know Peter and I was talking at the Fourth Thani Hotel, and he was saying, so after he finished listening to me say a few things, he said, you have ideals. So I said, well, I'm realistic over idealistic. He said, no, but you have ideals. Ideals is morals and, stuff like that. That's what he's saying to me. That's about maybe 70-something. I would say 72 or 73. We done all left Africa. We in East Africa now. The ones that are still alive. The point is that he was in charge of security. So when I first got to Algeria, he was in charge of taking my picture and getting all the information on me. And he said that what come back was that, what did he say? He said, they said you were a legend in your own time. He was from Kansas City, not Oakland. He said you were a legend in your own time. Or you are a legend in your own time. But a couple of years later, I done went around and fixed up all of this smuggling thing, and I went back to Algeria to find them. They was all gone. So I said, while I'm here, I'm going to visit. So I visited Tanzania again, which was technically my home away from home, and he was there. So that's when we talked a lot. I imagine he's still alive, but he's not a teenager anymore. And what I saw, they was getting malaria all the time. I don't know, did anybody see that video, African Panther in Africa? Yeah, okay. That's an old video. That video is probably back in somewhere, way back. But anyway, The point is this. Uh, we don't have any complaints about anything that Allah have given us. In fact, we're grateful. We always talk about longevity and stickability and tenacity, but we don't carry ourselves fully because if we get in a situation with the system, we kind of, start acting a fool, what they call a fool. No, we don't say, well, I want to live for a long time, so I'm not going to do this. We don't say that. If you heard the way I talk to police and them real cracker police, I do a little study on them. I wait to see if they done got the message. You have just stopped so-and-so. And when that kicks in, I stretch out. I stretch all the way out. It scares everybody else, but it don't scare me. But that's not the thing. That's to let them know. The thing is that we're living in a time of dispensation. Brother Tufel and I used to talk about it a lot. I said, we used to ask the question, is this the last go around or the second to the last? Well, we was treating the history before like we got another go round or two, but we're not treating this one like that. This from today on, or from whenever because there's a transitional period. I would say like right now we're in a fourth or fifth transitional period, and this one will encapsulate everything that's happened before. So we'll be going back to California very soon. But I'm going to ask a little bit of help. This thing called self-revival. So here's what we're going to do, starting whenever it is, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Sunday. We're going to have a training period. So what I would like from Tuesday, we may do one on Thursday, but a couple of times a week for the next short period before we go back to California, we're going to go through a training period. And that training period is for me. So at our next programs, I would like for everybody to be prepared to just, the dumb stuff that Mukhtar and them do, and you see them on the videos? Oh, you the police. Oh, you the this. I'm asking y'all to stretch out with that. Just go to town. No. You're training me. Remember, okay, the reason we haven't had no trouble with nobody, like Sean Hannity and them, because we were trained, self-trained up to that. We knew what they was going to do. Okay, now, when we go back there, we're going to go through these periods. We're going to video them. We're going to examine them and look at them. This is a period of self-improvement. In what way? Self-improvement is very simple. We're now going to clown the system to the max. Discombobulation and everything. It's just, we're just going to have people rolling in the aisles. But in order to do that, you have to train yourself or be trained. So that means next week or a few days when we're here, all of y'all are focused on me. We got the cameras room. And y'all are name calling, everything. Imam Musa, you a fool. Imam Musa, you stole this. Anything you come up with, it doesn't make no difference. But we do that. We'll do it maybe 45 minutes each time. What I have to do is keep talking to the camera. Stay focused, right? Yeah. Okay, let's go over it again. If we're going now to deal with everything back there, we've been taking our time, right? We haven't went back there. But we have the time now. We train ourselves for what we're going to deal with when we get there. Some of the things we know, we have their behavior to see these are some of the things that they're going to do. These are the things that the police have done, right? You see them dragging me out of our masjid, it's Masjid al-Islam. You see all the paperwork here, right? So they don't have a right to do that, but they're doing it, right? Okay, we have to train ourselves for that. Usually, if you watch, we're only responding so much. And it's on if you see them roll in the masjid, right? That's wonderful. That's the Negro servants, white shoe-wearing Arabs, coming in the door, and there's poor Imam Musa, right? Right? That's on the camera, right? Wonderful. Wonderful. Why not no response, basically? It's not time. Maybe we don't know what we're doing, but that don't look like what it is, right? Come on in. When we're beat upside of the head, I mean, this is a big assault as you would have without killing somebody, right? I mean, that visible assault is like, you could see my head is pieces of meat that's, like they used to say, I'll whip your head till it rope like oatmeal. That's exactly what it looks like, right? That's what it looks like. That is like, but what am I telling you? Stay out of my business. Take your time. Don't mess with me. I know what I'm doing, right? And I'm very specific about, you stay out of this. That's what I'm telling my sons and the other. Y'all stay out of this. You don't know what's going on. You stay out of this. Keep your mouth shut. You can't blow. You're not going to blow what we're working. You know what I mean? Here I am, one person. It takes me to put all this stuff together. You're not going to pull it apart. Where you have a string holding all this together and you pull it and the whole thing. You're not going to do that. Either for boss man or for your stupidity, you stay out of this. That's what you can see. I'm telling them specifically, you stay out of this. We know what we're doing. You don't. You don't have no idea of what we're doing. Okay. Or when to do certain things. So now, this is another stage. This is a stage when we just going to have fun with them. So I want y'all to train me how to stay focused. Of course I could do it, without the training. But you think you're going to have a championship fight and you're not going to train? That's stupid. Tell the truth. Is this a championship fight? Who we fighting? It's almost not fair. Because the guy you're fighting, the system you're fighting, has all this stuff but he's on the way out. That's what we've been waiting for. And there ain't no accident. We've been waiting on this. Remember, we always talk about signs and signs, waiting on a sign. Signs in the universe and signs in yourselves, right? All that stuff. And that's it. That's it. Everybody knows it. Tell the truth. The world knows it. The world knows it. It ain't that it's not news. The world knows it. Now, we want this to you remember undercuts in trees? Do y'all remember what the undercut in a tree is? Then cut from the back. And wherever you put the wedge back there, that's why you can make the tree fall where you want it. Within a few yards, yes. First of all, the undercut is not going to fall back that way. It can't, because the undercut is that way, right? We've been working all this time to deal with Bossman. Bossman has been undercut psychologically. No matter whether he knows it or not. But the things around the world is telling him and all the people, look at, what's the name right now, when he comes up to talk. It's like a pitiful old man, right? Tell the truth. A pitiful old 3 or 4 strings of hair. And he used to even, last year, remember he'd come running up to the thing. He don't come running up no more. Huh? Right. Look, all of the stuff that we're talking about, no matter what happens, our goal is not to hurt nobody, but to help everybody, to try to get that tree to fall when it don't fall on the, because most of the people it would hit would be us. When the U.S. fall, the economy, the disruption in the society, the higher up the ladder, the farther away you are from that tree falling, it'll fall on us. The economy, when it cracks, crack on us. When the social structure, the murder and killing, and that's why we're telling everybody, and we'll be telling them more, go on and join up with the system. This is a safety precaution. This is a good thing to do. We haven't been getting around to do it, but we're going to be doing it. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing it here. Shoot, I might be out tomorrow going around a couple of places. But that's what we're going to be doing. When I'm in California, we're going to be doing that. And we're going to tell them why we think you ought to do it. And I believe that our evolution makes sense. And I believe that nobody else has been working on real evolution. I don't believe, just think of some of the Negroes. They beat each other up, or they do, some of the black people, whatever you call them, black groups, you know what I mean? Are they thinking about, just think about what their program is. It's not, one of the guys is over here, at that time, he had one of them big Hummers. And he saw that I did a little work. So he told me, I'd like to hire you to come and do some work at my house. So I basically told him, you must be stupid. This is what you know what I mean? But I don't, and then ethics and morality, you over Safeway parking lot, there's a big fat leg yellow girl, and all that stuff. This nigga's not thinking about nothing but their little body parts. I'm telling you, you could see it. And then they hem each other up and they're fighting over stuff, but there's nothing in their mind about their people, about how this thing is fitting together. They don't do that. They don't have nothing to do with that. Nothing. And I'll go so far as to say none. I haven't run across any yet that have anything, they're not thinking about it. Out of everything is money. And look at it like this. In 3 or 4 years, what good is some money going to do you? The whole damn thing is burning up now. And that's why, there's a certain time. During the past period, we're cruising because the way we looking at it, we got all the time in the world. We just sit back. We'll just cruise for about 6 months or a year on anything. Like we started fixing on that roof over there, right? That was a winter and a half ago, right? It was a winter and a half ago. But I said, well, we'll take it easy. Why? Because I'm up on that roof and wobbling back and forth, and we was on the other roof over there just a few months before during the summer. I wasn't doing no wobbling at all, but up there, I was wobbling on that roof. I wouldn't wobble up there now because whatever it is, boss man give a nigga something and he gonna wobble at that period. Right? So wobble, no hurry. But now we're in an assertive, everything, when you call yourself waiting for us, all of it comes together at the proper time. So you can't wait for another sign. You already have all the signs. You can't stall, right, and say, just a minute, I want some more signs. All the signs that you wanted, there they are. Plus, right? If you're talking about the Vietnam syndrome and all that, and you got people on them big wheels in a jet and the wheels is running, wait a minute, hold it, that ain't no sign. What's wrong with you? That's a sign, right? And boss man talking out the side of his mouth one day and the next day it's all blown wide open. Hey. And see, remember, they got all this stuff. It's out of their hands too. You got to realize that. There's a deep state. But when the whole thing start to crumble, they can't hold. There's too many things going on here, too many things going on. And they did that and they were supposed to do this and it didn't work out like that. And they can't. It's like the guy trying to hold up the earth and plug holes. There's a water leaking here and he plug a hole there. Then he put his toe up. The whole thing is leaking. That's what's happening to the earth, right? And it's happening directly to boss man. Okay, there are other minor players, no doubt about it. But this is at a time when we have to, or we can, harmonize our objectives during this time for this purpose, right? We'll do what we can, China and Russia and others, but our allies are specific. The ones that's been hooked up, see, you got to go back a good 40 years. At one time, Iran was all by itself. And we were still there with them. Then, was with them more than, as much. Okay. So it was all by itself. That was 40 years ago. In 1988, when they stopped the war, Iran had been so isolated and so cut off that they couldn't even buy from Yugoslavia, You know, like a smoke detector, they got gas, little detectors that, for poison gas. They couldn't buy them. Iran was making for itself. You ever see on those some of those books that we had on the war, where they got them them outfits on, all made out of rubber? The Foul Peninsula, 120, 122, 123 every day. Can you wear that plastic? I wear plastic now. I start wearing it again for sweating a little. Do you know? I was in the park getting ready to. I had walked a little bit. I came back, and I was talking to a person, and I started sweating. And if you are already hot and that stuff, like for instance, you see, I washed the car. I want to wear the plastic. I don't want to do no whole lot of work, so I'll wash the thing. Guess what happens? You can get so hot, and you can sit down to cool off, and then you drink a thing of water. You know what happens with that water? It goes, and you can feel it running right down on the ground, out of your body. Right away, it don't take no time. That's your body trying to cool yourself off, but it's also cleansing your body. At first, the sweat, you could taste the thick salt. But after a couple of weeks of wearing that thing, your sweat, it don't look like sweat that much anymore. It almost looks like water. That's a little film. And when it's running in your eyes, it don't burn anymore. Why? Because you done all those toxins. Okay. This is an honorable period. For us, this is a good time. Nobody thought we was going to get here. Nobody even thought this nigga is crazy. Boss man, they do whatever you want. Well, that's not necessarily so. Because we're here proves it. And now, we're going to practice. We're going to practice staying focused. So when y'all are attacking me and I'm sitting here, I have my stuff that I'm going to say and I'm going to say. And I'm going to do it in spite of what y'all say. But that's training me how to stay focused. Because when I go back to California, I'm going to be doing a lot of programs. They're going to have a lot of, I'm going to do them in Berkeley. I'm going to do them all out in the street. I'm going to do them everywhere. Okay, everywhere I go, they're going to have some people there trying to distract the program, right? So I'm going to become a professional. Better than all, okay, let me put it this way. Right now, we don't lose they attack, right? We either defend or be quiet because there's certain things going on. If it's an attack on the masjid, we want that to happen. And one of the best attacks in the world is the one that they have me handcuffed coming out of the masjid with my belly hanging all out and no shoes on. That's wonderful. And Mukhtar is standing there on the side, right? Everybody can see that's who it is. Right? That's wonderful. Okay. But what do we choose to clown the people. We choose to have fun. In order to do that, you still have to be focused. You have to be focused, right? You have to be relaxed. You have to be calm. So it's just like preparing for any fight. Y'all are the sparring partners, so y'all say whatever you can conjure up. You can do it 2 at a time, 1 at a time, all at a time, rah, rah, rah. And I have to sit here and train and focus, staying focused, right? No, this is training. If I'm going to war, you want to go to war, you ain't going to do no training. This is insanity. And this one is this one is fun. Because see, when they come, now they listening to all of this, so they're going to go and they're going to try to, but they can't do too much because see, they've already been trained in this to cause trouble. They can't improve much. You see what I mean? We can improve 95%. Not really, maybe just 80%. We can improve that much. In fitna and foolishness, they can only improve 5%, maximum 10%, because they've been trained already. You can tell when Abdul Malik trained them. You could tell who's training them. You could tell them what they say and what they think by what they do. Right? Yeah, you can tell. I can tell exactly who told them what to do and what. I could tell when Abdul Malik is involved. I can tell when Sister Bahia and them told them something. I could tell, and I could tell with them. I could tell with my family. I could tell with what was done with my sons. Right? I could tell what they did with my daughters. I could tell. The idea, we just want to keep Dad alive. It's the only thing that's important. Fatima says, well, Dad, if that was true, they would kill you. That's what their mama done told them. You keep your daddy alive, and he's not going to look out for himself. You have to look out for him by preventing him from getting in a dangerous situation. Because he is a pretty tough nigga, and you got to protect him. And they've been in the car when the police stop us. They say, this nigga here, he you see how he acts with the police? You see how he do this? You seen TV? How long does he have to live? You got to keep him alive, right? And then with my sons, they think we got to get rid of, we don't want them niggas around. We don't want nobody around him that gives them support. This is back in the 80s. So guess what? When you got dumb sons, they're not dumb, but they're not, they think, if one of them catch a pretty little girl, he thinks, shoot, I caught this child. You know, and I looked at my son's license plate. It was around 88 or something. It says, the one that dies with the most toys win. I didn't even tell him, you are the dumbest nigga in the world. The white folks made it. You know them license plate covered the one that died. I said, boy, look here. You know, I love going fishing. Happiness is going fishing. His said, the one that dies with the most toys wins. And that's what I said. You're just a stupid kid. And he was 50, 60. He was 40 years old then. They put him in the penitentiary over and over again so they wouldn't be around me. I gave a khutbah 15 years ago. I said, the white man saved your lives. I said, what kind of pictures do y'all have? They photo album? They said, Dad, everybody in our photo album is dead. I said, right. You would have been too if you was just around all your friends. The numbers, it ain't both of the numbers don't support both of you living. He put y'all away in the penitentiary to keep them from me. I gave a khutbah on this, and they were saying, man, that's deep. It's true, but it's deep. But they still, because they respect white folks. They respect the police, because the police can, because they're not me. They're not going to, okay, I don't respect them. I don't disrespect them, but I don't respect them because I already know what I'm doing. They're not doing that. So I have to look out for them. I look out for them. make sure boss man is nervous about me having any support. So they put them in jail over and over and over again for long stretches. They put it. They're still alive though, and they're in their 50s only. You got a long way to go. I'm just telling you. You got to remember, your picture of the future of your children or their picture is one thing. Mine is another. Success is not the same for my children as it is for yours. It's just not the same. The only criterion that I asked Allah about was keep the niggas alive long enough for them to know what's going on. They got it. They got it. They got that. Fine. My daughters, it's different. A father is different about daughters. Right? It's more a man to protect, okay? So, let them be placed in a position where nothing can happen to them. If anything happened to my daughters, my ex-wife would think the police did it. So she would crack under the thing. Right? So they got full protection. They got free school in the best schools. They got all that. Yeah, they got all that coming. Sakina was up there at Simpson. Fatima is in some other, I don't know what the heck the damn place is. It's up there in Boston. All them big, it's a whole area where there ain't nothing but super schools, right? Super white folks schools. Huh? I don't have nothing to worry about at all. They take care of it. Well, they stole most of the money, them. Yeah, so anyway, they have to take care of them. They don't even ask me for any more money because they know I don't have none. They know. Can you imagine that they have lifted the money? And that's great. That's wonderful. When you playing a big game, you can't be playing no pity pat. You got to be yeah, this is deep. That's what we've been doing all the time. And there's nothing they can do about it. It's too late. They can't do a thing to the daughters. And the sons, if they don't have no sense by now, that's too bad. Who knows? We may even help them kick heroin and all that stuff. Sure. Who knows? But for everybody else, their children didn't last, but it's 21, 22. Mine are 55, damn near 60. Right? Both in their way in their 50s now. Right? So, hey, and they know. They don't, I didn't sit down and told them about protracted struggle and all of that, but they believe in the white man. They believe the white man got, for them, you see, they don't live the same life I live. So the white man have control over their life. Anytime he want to take them, he can take them. And they know that. Right? So I have to use all of that, what I know, to fit right into this right here. Yeah, of course. And I'm happy with it. I don't have any friends. It's my age that their kids, they didn't lose one or two kids out there in Oakland. I don't have no, One of them might have went off to be emergency seaman or something, and he got lucky. All the other kids, all them pictures of the sisters that y'all might see, and they holding a nice little baby, all them niggas is dead. Long time ago. All of them. Long time ago. All them little babies, it was this high on some of them pictures. They long gone. Both of my sons are still here. That's not a victory, but it is something about it, right? If they go, they'll know I went because I was a damn fool. Ain't nothing there to say, right? And they still will work right against, if I'm talking to them on the phone, I said, send this out. Send it. You ain't going to send it out. Because the white man tell them don't send it out, because if you send those taxes out here for that, then he could pay them from there. So make him come out here to get them. That's what they do. I haven't seen them. Oh, let me look for them. It's okay. I would like to tell y'all how confident we feel about this stage we're in. But just think the last one, we're more confident in this one than the last one, and we was fully confident. We said we're going to discombobulate boss man, we're going to do this. Now remember now, on the sideline, we're taking credit for a lot of this. We're not going to take credit for all of it. But remember we said that this da-da-da-da, we're going to take credit. That makes boss man even madder. You didn't do that, nigga. We messed up ourselves. I said, well, that's what I asked Allah for you to be stupid cracker. You just blew it yourself. Let's not forget don't forget, you can't forget the system itself. You don't think they're sitting down keeping records? They got a whole team. You got to see the whole team working. How the hell I go come back a car run perfect and now I don't run? It's the 50th one. And everybody buy a car from me, it don't tick, 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 tick for that. Soon as they get in there, zoom, don't care whether it's a van, it's a car, it don't make no difference. One of the things happened too quick at a Negro, that brown Volvo I used to have sitting out there for years, I cleaned it up and cranked it up. Then the nigga come by. Well, I'm ready to buy it now. Gave it to him, $700 or something. It was free. I cranked that boy up, drove it around the block. I said, oh. In other words, they had attached the stuff too quick, and I was still going to drive it. So I told the Negro, I don't know it. He said, but you said. I said, that's right, the nigga give his word. He can't go back on his word. So off it went at 1/3 of the, or maybe something of the price. Everything out there, it overheats to do this. Soon as somebody else buy it, look at it in the cars, the big vans, the suits people bought. You know, that car, I just brought it back from Florida. It run like a watch. Then the next morning I get in there, click, 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 and after that it got real loud. So that all somebody got to do is turn the thing that, that's all they got to do. If they don't, hell, I'll walk out there. Or I'll catch the bus. I can do what I want, It's fine with me. The point is that everything we have ever said has came true right in front of everybody's face. Right? Nobody can say, that ain't true. Can't do that. Not here. Nobody can say, oh man, you just making that up. I say, yeah, but I made it up in front of y'all right here. Time after time. And exactly the same stuff happened. That's not clairvoyance, and I haven't used that word in long. It's not clairvoyance. It's history. It's the book. It happens that way all the time. It's just time is different. Okay, the people of old, this happened, that happened. But it was the same thing, right? So if Noah and them got drowned out, they said the next time it'll be by fire. But you don't know, this is going to be a combination here. They're going to have the earth on one end boiling over with water, and the other side is burning up. If you leave these crackers alone, won't it be like that? Not in 100 years, in 5 years. The point is, like, look at the decline. When you're at the bottom of the hill, you're going, where the police stay? At the bottom of the hill. Why? Because who's speeding going up the hill? Nobody. But going downhill, you don't even have to pay attention. It just picks up speed. And so the police is at the bottom of the hill, or just at the bottom, and here is the light. Okay. There's no sense waiting for this boss man, in the 50s, in the 60s, even in the 70s. But by the 80s, things start changing a little. By the 90s, it was pretty much clear. By the 2000s, yeah. Everything we said was clear on this. This is what's getting ready to happen. We said it before, but it's clear. Okay, now, and I'll move toward a close. The people is crazy. The people is crazy. They just cruising along like they're sending their kids to college. They're doing this, they're doing that. Just like hell is going to be there for the next forever. They're going to get a job. They're going to get out, they get a degree, they're going to get a job. They're going to work here in America. As if the damn thing is going to be here. Like it is now. They're not planning for chaos because boss man haven't wrote chaos down. No, this is chaos. But anybody that's got a wee brain could see where this is going. And we got to prepare for it. I say I don't care, tell you the truth, what nobody else do. You know why? Because I'm not responsible for nobody else. Personally, guess who I'm responsible for? The brother. That's it. Tell the truth. And who else is responsible for themselves? Everybody. On the day of judgment, how you going to be there? Everybody going to be there with you? It's going to be a lot of people in the area, but they're not going to be on. You're going to be sweating your own bullets. Well, I did. Well, everybody, I was following them niggas. Going on with them then. That's what the Quran say. You was following boss man, going over there with him. Go on, get there. But he might be going downstairs. What, you just going down there with him? Excuse me about this joke. Just show you how white people think. It was about 74 or 75. It was a federal court in L.A. And this white boy, he went to the penitentiary with me. And the judge gave him, must have been 20 or 25 years. He said, Judge, I can't do all of that time. He said, son, just go on up there and do all you can. It's a joke. But the judge actually said that. It's in the transcript. This is a white boy. He was not imagining that this is possible, right? For what he was doing. He was a pilot or something, a dope pilot, and they gave him all 2 years. The more dope you flew in, the less time you got. So he was sweet. And he got convicted. He said, Judge, I can't do all of that time. He was innocent. He was serious. And the judge just said, son, just go up there and do all you can. In other words, hey, man, so we're by ourselves. We're going to do our own time. On this one, if we get into heaven, we got there. Then Allah scratched off a few things. If we did enough good things, He scratched off some of that other stuff. That's what we hoping, that Allah starts scratching off all of that stuff. But our niyyah, I don't care what these people do or what combinations they're doing it in. I'm not with them. I'm going to do this stuff right here. Excuse the expression, they can go to hell. And if they keep on, that might be where they're headed. I don't want to go with them. There's a big possibility, being a Negro and all, that we can wind up in that condition. But I'm not trying to go there. And it said, do this and don't do that, I'm going to try to follow that. Okay, so I'm going to move toward a close. Self-revival. There's a new schedule, all that, And we got a new little schedule that we following when we get up. Even walking or running in the hills a little bit, not the hills around that, right across the street. One of the things we have to deal with is boss man getting in your business. And boss man, let's say, monitoring brainwave, stuff like that. I had a feeling when the feds was here last time, they had a doggone, it looked like one of them big walkie-talkies that they have, this big, and about, and he was holding this thing. It wasn't a walkie-talkie. He was holding it right at my head. We were sitting at the table over there. The Korean one was holding it right at my head. I said, well, I'll be doggone. Anyway, I said, oh, have a good time. So, you have to not be afraid when we talk about psychological guerrilla warfare. Boss man is going to do his psych, and he got all kind of new little machinery and stuff. Yeah, boss man got little bugs that can fly in the room and be sitting on the wall and take your picture and stuff. So do you know that rat paper that they put under the under the refrigerator and other stuff, and you see you pull it out, it's a dead rat there all the time. He didn't been there so long, he didn't dried up and died. So I got some of those. So I put some over here, some over there, and the little rat poison you put out and put a little peanut butter in it and stuff. So last night, it was something going on. So I got up and I started writing again. Now, I hadn't seen this rat in I don't know how long. But this rat come in, looks at me, I guess to make sure where I was. I'm telling you, this is actually the truth. And I got the rat paper was over here, the rat food, all that was right over there. Before he would run over here, right where between the boxes I have, and anyway. But last night, it reminded me of a couple of weeks ago. He just tip in there and look at me, and then he went back out. He didn't go nowhere near the rat paper. And I'm telling you, you can believe it if you're not. And then he went on about his business. Maybe he wanted to see exactly what I was doing. It's up to him. But I don't put none of that past white folks. I don't care what you say. You say Imam Musa been drinking. It don't make me no difference. I'm telling you that I believe, yes, that's right, I'm telling you, that I believe that they got little insects that fly in people's place, right? Yeah, and they sit there on the wall and they just, the nigga talking and they be talking about this and talking about that, right? And the thing is sending it all back to GHQ. This stuff is, now it's old. That stuff is old because see, acceleration, that's why our job is so acute because something that you could have did yesterday, if you didn't do it, it's out of date by the time, you see what I mean? It's out of date. I don't want my telephone book. They've been 30 years so they could point the thing at your window and hear everything you say, right? That was back in those days. When I was writing about roving wiretaps, they didn't need no roving wiretaps. They had all kind of stuff then, because that was 20 years ago, 21 years ago, 22 years ago. That's a stone age as far as surveillance is concerned. And nowadays, that's why we're going to whoop boss man bad and make fun of him, because he got all that stuff and it ain't doing him no good. He got all that stuff and the people is making a fool out of him, blowing him up. And the same people, he don't know who blowing. He might have hired the people to blow himself up. He don't know. Because it's all screwed up. And there's too many people involved. And the Zionists, that's the main enemy of humanity. That's the one we ought to get. Believe it or not, some of boss man's folks going to work with us before this is all over. Because you think who's blowing up and who's doing all that stuff? That's the Zionists. Who they killing? Americans. They killed 13 Americans. Right? The Zionists did that. And some of them know. We've been waiting on them, sitting by the door, waiting for them to come in, but they still scared. But they're not going to be scared all the time. There will be a point when this thing breaks. And we've been saying this, I want you to try to remember when you first heard this. This goes back 30 and 40, and technically it goes back 50 years. But you've been hearing it for 30 years, easy. That 10% of the FBI is all right, right? You can't remember when I wasn't saying that. That means that it's just a rule. If you have an organization and it's founded on freedom, hell, 10% of the people believe it, right? And after you go so far, you're going to lose them. You're going to lose them. This is the way history goes. It don't make I don't care whether it's Moses, he killed a guy, there's somebody from the inner circle. It says they came running from the furthest part of town, right? Man, you better get out of town because the boys is hooking a whole scheme up on you, right? All that's history. During the time of the Prophet ﷺ, he had Quraysh that was still there. He had people that accepted the deen that was still in Mecca. Yes, it was. Shows were sitting here. Right? I don't care. Our friends and our enemies. Our friends are here. We now have friends that are certain that niggas know what they're talking about. No question. Not Medea, Benjamin, all them people They don't know their butt from a hole in the ground. Why? Because they haven't been saying nothing, but they've been listening and recording. And many of them have been acting off of what we've been saying. Yeah, right here in the United States. Over there too. Over there too. You could see and you can almost smell certain responses. And you can almost see the guys here that wouldn't touch you with a 10-foot pole. Man, the last February before last, whenever it was, I was out in Manassas, and the whole structure was there. These wasn't the guys that some went back home, some stayed here, and some are still with them. But they're going, I guess I just finished that. I hadn't finished. I was still not shaky, but I was still a little destabilized because I was in February, went out to a program in Manassas. So one of the Iranian brothers say, "You're not going to eat that, are you?" As if they didn't put, he's an Iranian, as if there's other Iranians didn't put something in the food. So I just, I dare you, you know. But he was saying that to make me feel uncomfortable. Well, he was a young guy. The children are one of the tattletales. And the children, like Ibn Khaldun, them, the children are not smart as the old ones. Maybe they had more training, something like that. But you could tell when they come in, their eyes is big, and they. The same thing with the Iranians. The bond that we solidified, what I had to tell Hezbollah to stop sending mail. They was sending mail. I don't know if it was over on 8th Street. Hezbollah's logo. We want to continue to work together, and this love, peace, and harmony. I let them know that. I said, stop sending that. I said, do you know where I am? I said, I'm in America. So the Secretary General guy, he said, okay, finished. No more. Thank God he stopped sending mail to 8th Street from Hezbollah. What damn Hezbollah logo? I said, I'm glad it wasn't in yellow. That's at least it wasn't, law wasn't in yellow. Other than that, it would have been finished by now. No, but look, tell the truth. We have to be blessed. Some blessing, because there's too much crap going on. A nigga can't hold it all in his own brain. You can't do it. It's too many, right? There's stuff coming for us. So that's where belief come in. That you just believe Allah taking care of this. And then Allah gonna give you the method. That's why the methodology is colored 100%. We're gonna clown the people. We're not gonna sit down and have an intellectual, we're gonna practice. So when they attack me, I'm gonna float around, float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. I already know what I'm gonna do to them. I could do it now, but it'd be out of training. It wouldn't be, I'm going to get the stuff together. Yeah, we're going to have fun. We're going to clown them, make fun out of them. They'll never, after we finish whooping on them, we're going to whoop on them and have a good time, right? And we're going to just look at the stuff they done said. Remember some of the stuff they said, it don't make sense, right? If they listen to this and try to get sharper, we're going to bring that back. Well, you say, and it's not going to be like, you said this, you said, no, we're just going to have fun. We're going to clown them. Good old colored style. You don't have nightmares. You know, or wake up looking all around. Somebody laughed. I heard somebody laughing at me in my sleep. The news laughing at me, making fun of me, making fun of my wife just because she's big old blubber ball and stuff, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. Yes, and have fun. Why not? That's the gift Allah gave me. Have fun. You know, don't get mad about stuff and have fun. That's what Allah gave me. When I changed from that, lucky nothing happened. But life wasn't the same because we was living in a world that would have been natural for that. If the white man do this, if the niggas do that, you're going to be mad at them because they're human beings and they all did what human beings do. These niggas told on you. Those white folks know they wasn't supposed to do that and they did it. So what? Right? You're not going to act off that. Anyway, of course, I never went over none of the stuff I was going to talk about here. But anyway, are there any questions or comments? On thankfulness, on gratefulness, on longevity? Yeah.
Someone said, so when we talk about America, are we talking about Haiti, Jamaica, Dominican, Brazil, Bolivia, and many more? Because all of them are the Americas as well. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay. And I'm thinking, when we think about America, we do think about the whole continent. Because remember, I lived in South America. Every place he's talking about, I lived in Colombia, I lived in Venezuela, I lived in all of them. When we talk about America in these terms, we're talking about white America, America that sends troops all over, and those people down there are victims of America, right? If you have to put them on the list of America the aggressor, they're not America the aggressor. Yeah, they aggress on each other. They do this, that, and other. Yeah, they're not that nice to their own people, all that little stuff. But they are victims of America. If America wanted to be America the good, they could help those countries down there really. If they wanted to help all of this million people at the border, all they got to do is send some money down there, and the people wouldn't want to come up here. It's simple. It's stupid. Who wants to leave home? If they take all the money from down there, they're already poor, don't have no money. They take the last few bananas and the last few coffee beans, and they bring them up here. And the people don't know where to go except it ain't much money up there, but that's where the money is. So the highways and the trains is full of people coming up here. Why not have a Marshall Plan for Latin America? They did it for the white folks in Europe. A Marshall Plan. Where they get to stay down there. You think that they would rather stay home if they could all have a few nice little stores, shops, the streets was fixed. They would rather stay home than come up here. So, when we're talking about America, sometimes we're talking about this America right here. Sometimes we're talking about this Washington, D.C. Sometimes we're talking about the whole continent, but you have to remember, when you deal with North America, let's just call it, most of our discussion is about the United States of America. And those things that are tied to it. When we talk about America, troops, American soldiers and sailors, Americans being totally disenfranchised by their government, we're talking about the United States of America, right? When we talk about military debacles, we're talking about the United States of America, right? These United States of America. When we talk about our people hurrying up and becoming associated with the system, to protect ourselves from the system, we're talking about the United States of America. Those things probably wouldn't happen in Canada. And it's a moot, whatever it is, for Mexico and other parts of America. So the things that we are talking about, what happened in Afghanistan, the Americans that left people behind and leave people behind, historically, he leave them behind every time and all the time. And we've been talking about snitches and what he do to tattletales. We don't have no animosity for people that got caught up in America and their lies. We're hoping that they hurry up and wake up. But we believe when we say that there's some people in America that believe, that means that if we were talking about FBI, they have a better chance, CIA a little less in numbers, NSA even less. But if 5, 10, 15% would be just fine of the FBI begin to come our way. Sometime I think, because people talk that gangster talk, I be wondering what in the hell is wrong with you? You're going to do all of this by yourself, nigga? You sitting there, because Khadijah and I'm talking, I knew you was an agent. I knew you dumb niggas. I don't say that, but then again, I do. You dumb behind niggas, what is wrong with you? You got kids too. You don't want to save you going to trust boss man. Boss man and already got you acting a fool. You're on the board. You're on pictures. You've done your life is, I don't want to say anything like that because they said he threatened me. Niggas, he threatened me. Anyway. Police didn't, they couldn't even get a case out of that. But here's the point. Arrogance, meanness, you don't want to cut anybody out that might be a help. The reason we go by every test without malice, without hatred, so the people that might come our way, even if it's only 5%, they got to trust, if they don't trust, they can't trust their government, they can't trust, and they've been dealing with niggas all the time, and that niggas double-crossed them all the time. That's a big job to convince some of those multicolored peoples, white ones, black ones, and everything, that are Americans, Constitution Americans. If they're Constitutional American, no problem. If they're Constitutional American, if they're Bill of Rights, right, American. We don't agree with all of that, but if they that far along, we can work together. That means they wouldn't do nothing to no other human being because the Bill of Rights give them, right? You can't send no little bird into nobody's house because it's against the law. The Constitution don't allow that. Do you know there's some people that really, there's 4 or 5 people? We don't know the number. We're given a historical concept number. And it comes from the study of, this is not even about Muslims, true believers, that there are true believers in every party. Like there's true believers in communism. They're not in there to get a little extra for themselves. They're true believers in communism. You know, if you want to convert somebody to Islam or your way of thinking, who do you go after? The true believer in communism, because he believes it. You don't go after the slick guy. The slick guy will say whatever you want. Hell, he's a communist today, a mercenary tomorrow, right? It don't make no difference to him, as long as he gets some of what he, right? So the true believer in Americanism now means that person, and I believe the number is swelling because, see, the Americans, it's not their races, but their whiteness, don't like for nobody, Jews, telling them what to do, Zionists. That's pulling a lot of people our way. Yes, it is. I don't care. It's a little tinge of racism, but this is our America. Why, we took America from the Indians and we did this. This is ours. Okay. Well, and they did that. But on the subject we're talking about today, on espionage, on this and on that, and out oppression, you don't know, you may have 5%, I always settle around 10, it could be 15. You don't know how they've done so bad in the recent years. It may be up to 25% of the people in the FBI that don't like, don't like it. A lot of them don't like it. How many are willing to whistleblow? What we're saying to them right now is get some designated whistleblowers. So it don't have to be all of y'all get kicked. Yeah, no. Get your designated, right? Designated whistleblower from amongst them, right? Okay, whatever happened, we're going to look out for your family. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. This is the side union of the FBI, right? And whatever happened, you going out there like a damn fool and get busy. Did y'all ever hear the story about, what was that? Belle the cat? Oh, yeah, okay, I won't tell it again. But just in case you forgot, all the animals was together, and so this old big old cat was eating up all the animals and everything. And they had a meeting, and they said, well, they went around, they got all the suggestions about what they was going to do. And so they come out with the idea, let's put a bell around that lion or whatever it is, the cat bell. Put a bell like a cowbell, anything. So when he comes, it's ringing and all that. Great idea, perfect idea. But the only thing is, who's gonna bell the cat? Who's gonna be fool enough to go up and put the bell around the cat? That's us. And it's not foolishness, it's fun. Because the Negro knows how to have fun. They just never let the Negro, you ever see Africans in the old days jumping around? They're always having fun. I'm telling you, if they would have left us alone, we would have plenty of fun. And that's why we're going to make belling the cat fun. We're already doing it. We're already doing it. That's what we're doing now. We belling the cat, and ain't nothing happening. Lips ain't turning green, Well, we don't know how many poisons we've absorbed, but Allah is taking care of us. I can't tell you all this stuff to go. It'd be ridiculous. You said, boy, that nigga there, boy, he be stretching out. I'm telling you, up to this minute, and coffee's supposed to wake you up, especially Starbucks coffee. When I drink it, to sleep right now, today. I can't drink it. Maybe after it cooled down and he forget, I might slip by one Starbucks and say, and then boom. I said, all right, I'll drink it for a while till he get used to me. I got 2 weeks to have a Starbucks party, because as soon as he see what's happening, he gonna come back and put something in it. And I put your name on the list, and every time you come up with Starbucks, I tell them, what's your name? My name is Johnny Johnson. My name is this, that, and another. You think I'm going to tell them it's Musa? But all the ones around here, man, I went to Starbucks week before last. My vision got blurry. So my daughter says, oh, you got to go to the hospital. You got to do this. No, they gave us 2 extra big drinks, them big nice ones. So I said, oh, we got 2 extras. They gave us that. So I took one, all the cream on top. And my vision got blurry and everything. I said, man, the white man, he just keep on acting a fool. Anyway, so they set me up. And my daughter happened to be having a trip to the hospital that day. Dad, you gotta come, and you gotta get this and that. So I took her to the hospital. You gotta have this, you gotta have that. There was a Lebanese guy in there. I looked at his name. He was Christian Lebanese. So he was pushing what she was pushing. They was all pushing it. Is that the first time that I go to the hospital with one of the kids and everybody there wanted me to do something? So, well, I'll be down. Be doggone. So I told him, no, I ain't going to do that. And I eased on out. But it's okay. Like right now, we're here having a good time. I ain't had no coffee or nothing. I ain't going to drink none either for a while. And whatever it is, I'll just get up and drink water. Yeah, sure, I drink water or whatever else I want to do. We're in a new dispensation, and we're gonna do our job this go around. And the only reason is because the world is nobody's doing it. Ain't nobody doing it. Ain't nobody talking about it. With all this stuff going on, I don't hear nobody even talking about it. Something is wrong. Okay, any more questions?
Another brother asked, how can we be sure that the sadaqah we send to our brothers and sisters actually makes it to them? I don't know.
Where are they sending the sadaqah to?
He didn't say that. That's just the question.
Well, it had to be a little more specific. If you want to send some sadaqah here, just leave the check blank. And when they get here, I'll write, use a standard color pen though, because if you have two colors on there, they won't take the check. But I have no idea how you can be sure. If you send it to care, it's all over. If you send it to anybody else, you ain't going to get that. You're just going to get screwed. I'm not screwed, excuse the language. You're going to get wound around or something we call it. Yeah, it's a good question because I'm going to close with this. Personally, I'm very happy with life and what's been happening. And I got a chance to acquire everything and to go everywhere. I mean, I've been all over the world. I've been to Asia, Indonesia, Japan. It don't make no difference. I left a flight, as Martin Luther King said in one of his lectures. He said, I left Japan on Monday and I got here on Sunday because it's way over there. And it's true. It's true. You get here and you done gained a day. And if you go back over there the other way around, you leave here on Tuesday, it's almost Saturday when you get up. Not really. It's like if you leave on Tuesday, it's probably Thursday or something when you get over there. But I don't have no complaints about life. I don't have no complaints about who people are. We just study their behavior a little bit, and we have an idea about what people do. We're going to do the best we can to, the best thing I can say with witnesses is like, is a tree over there, and there's a law. Brother was telling me, well, the law is if the tree is on da-da-da-da-da, and I said, I ain't doing that. In other words, if a tree is on, I'm going, in other words, I said, I ain't taking no chances. That means I'm not doing nothing wrong and I know it's wrong. I don't care what the city say. That's what's been happening. So anything happening to me, it's got to be all right. And the last thing, the stuff happened here, physically we got it good. Our brothers and sisters, man, in Yemen are being slaughtered. I mean, it's just not even believable. Lebanon got 3 or 4 different kind of boycotts. And the Zionists blew up a bomb on the thing and blew half the city away. And the Palestinians, they get bombed every day, no matter what they do. And they can throw them out of their property anytime they want. The little stuff they do to us is child's play. That's the way I look at it. It's for children. I don't care nothing about them. This is my position. Any more questions?
Yes, last one. Imam, how do you factor in China's ever-increasing presence in the world and the U.S. decline? Kind of those two forces, one going up.
Yeah. That is happening.
How they correlate,
Okay, I'll try to put how we fit into this, how Africa fits into this. I've been paying a lot of attention to that for several months. And I was going off of the Long March China Railroad, Lusaka, Zambia, in 1971. And no Chinese children. That was a highway built by Americans from Dar es Salaam to Lusaka, Zambia. Zambia has a lot of copper. And Chile has a lot of copper too. But anyway, along the American highway, it's a lot of mixed children and a lot of stuff like that. The Chinese, not one mixed child, not one. And the Chinese worked harder on the railroad than the Africans did. The Africans said, boy, what about a break time? But Chinese, they kind of have that ant type thing. They do. They got work ethic. And they be working. They be doing that. And they've been doing it for thousands of years. So they just be doing that. And the ones here, everywhere they go, they do it. They just be working. You don't want to take a break. The Chinamen that go to school here. Some survey said they studied so many hours a day. And the white kids said, why don't y'all take a break, man? There ain't nobody who wants to do all of that. That's what we do. But anyway, the question about China. China is on the ascendancy and America is on a decline. If China is listening to me, I would say cut off for Africa at least 80% of the debt that Africans have borrowed. At least cut it off. Repatriate as many Chinese as you could get them to go back to China and have them work on desertification, which they work on. The forest is growing in the desert in China now so send them all back and let them go back and do that. All the technicians, instead of not teaching them anything, spend a whole year on the railroad, on all the Chinese technology, so Africans could do it. Okay, no more scenes of colonial period black woman cooking on the stove with a Chinese baby, just like in colonialism. When you look at it, it looks like colonialism. When you just look at Africa, you know what I mean? It looks like it. And we didn't jump at this in a hurry. We've been paying attention to it. So we would say that ask China to revert back to their old policy when they was barely getting by. All loans, 2% carrying charge. That's it. Debt relief, write off Africa's debt right away. Write it off. And I would say write off 80% of the debt that Africa owes. Okay. Don't cultivate stooges. Africans that'll sell their mama for, which is not all of them, but the standard African, I was telling in South Africa had the best chance of a country, high tech, all the modern stuff. South Africa had it and still has it. So that's what we're telling them. Because if you see some of the scandals, one of the richest Indian families was kind of put on trial, not the richest. So we was telling them what their approaches should be. And they were all ANC people. We said, that's a mistake. And you could hear some of it in some of the lectures that we gave over there. We was trying to tell them that South Africa has a wonderful opportunity, but the only problem with South Africans is they're black. Other than that, they're fine. That's the only problem they have. And just like everywhere else, they're going to sell them niggas red Benzes, green shoes, right? And they're going to all be corrupt. I don't care whether it's Ramaphosa. What is Ramaphosa? Chasing people around. He having sex with women that have AIDS. I said, that nigga there is bad. That's a bad nigga there. Right? That's a tough, this nigga here, he gonna knock girls over with AIDS. I said, that nigga is bad. No, he ain't only crazy, and he's on, what's the name's on trial right now? Yeah, you seen what? The guy that's on trial in South Africa. Juma, yeah. And Ramaphosa's the one that came in to try to help fix it. But hey, man, I'm telling them, I said, look, I love Africa. I said, I come here, I said, I have African blood myself, just in case y'all didn't know. I said, but it ain't going to work. I said, you let them guys go. I said, the white folks will be back in 3 months, not 3 months, like 30 years. Right now, it'll be 30 years almost, in another 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and the white folks will be back. And who they bringing with them? All the born frees. The born frees. And I'm the one, I'm taught this from Africans themselves, Indians and others. We was having a marathon one time there, and he said, see those, the police. He said, that's a born free. They didn't live during apartheid. They don't function off that. And so they got a Christian Democratic Party, whatever they call it, white folks in South Africa. Said they're all with them. So next year, 2, 3 years, the white folks will be back. Well, they got to be back because, number one, they didn't break up the land and take the money from them. So they had no money. If they got all the money, they can buy all the Negroes. And they going to have them. So they going to buy the Negroes so the African will blame the Negro. The Negro stole all the money, not the white folks. Oh boy, the white folks are sitting back. Wow, we're just democratic. We're just, I tell you, boy. But that's the way it go. That's just the way it go. Okay? So, what was the whole question now?
No, it was just how do you factor in China's ever-increasing presence in the world and the U.S. decline?
Okay. Well, the U.S. and China, that's a done deal. It looks like it's a done deal. The U.S. finished, and China, that's the way it looks. But see, China has been friendly to us and people like us. We want to keep them that way, right? We want to keep them that way. Don't get too greedy, man. They're already doing it. The Africans are already saying the Chinese can bring 5 ducks to market, and they show the African, I got 2 ducks, I can't sell them because they can superfeed theirs and they're bigger than mine. And if you go in a store in Africa, they got bull crap in there, Cheez-Its from China, right? Unhealthy food. And China owns, you go around in Africa now, it ain't like when the Chinese own the immigrants. They're owning everything in Africa. Okay, so they should go back home. Go back home today or get run back home. They got to remember the cycle. They can't, They can't escape. There's a cycle. They can do right now, or don't worry. When they own everything in Africa, what the hell do you think the Africans going to do? Going to say, get your butt out of here. They did it to the Europeans. They owned everything, right? Why are they not going to do it to Chinamans? Keep your railroad, keep all of this, go home. And all the Chinamans are going to have to pack up. In 50 years, 30 years, it could be quicker. Because they're moving fast.
And the Africans are conscious of the fact that they're doing exactly what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, the Africans, I researched this because I'm not saying pro-Chinese, but I took my time. And I just, whatever the stuff comes up, you can't have, I like to get this information, I like that. No. It don't make no difference whether you're Chinese or Negro. The rules apply. And as of late, you got to remember, it's like individuals, and it's like a corporation. When you're down, kind of struggling a little, you're with all the people. So you go back decades and decades. China was with us. They was really with us, and really, I mean, they was all right. The Chinese had been, they had the same signs in the parks, no Chinese and dogs allowed, just like niggas. No niggas and dogs allowed. In the park, no niggas and dogs allowed, okay. So they had what they call a century or more of humiliation. From the Opium War, 1840, 1839, up to, modern times. Because remember, China and India, if you go back a couple of 100 years, they was the biggest boys, all of them. They was big. For thousands of years. China, India, Iran, all that's right there. Those are the big boys. And even as the Roman Empire, the Eastern Byzantium, the Eastern end of the Roman Empire, Syria and all of that, that's what it is. All right. That's what it was. All right. Now, once you start feeling your oats or smelling yourself, you get a little slick. I'm not saying everybody do. I think the Chinese are still close enough to humanity that if the spotlight is put on them and they put enough on them, you might get them back. Suppose you don't. We get the best we can, and history will take them out too. It's just the rules. Yeah, it is. We're not. No, there's no exception. Oh, the British, they had special clause that this won't happen to them. The Romans, they had the Roman clause. That means, right? The Persians, they had other clause. And ain't nobody had no escape hatch. If they repeat a certain behavior, we're not happy with it, but just step out of the way so they can walk right on down to the road of oblivion. Right now, we're happy for China because they passed their humiliation. But they're at a point now that they could help. They should use all of their power to help bring up the rest of humanity. And also, the sides, the global sides. Of course, they're going to have Africa on their side. If they lose Africa, it'll be 30 or 40 years from now. But up until last week, you could see where the U.S. was trying to mount a comeback type thing. All that's gone. I don't see none of that working. With what just happened to Boston? No. You got to remember, this is big. This is what we've been sitting around waiting, counting at that, waiting on. We've been waiting on this stuff. You could tell we've been waiting on this. That's why we changed, right? Not change, but we evolved because now, that's in place. Now let's go here. That's all. Okay, now, China is still in the human arena. But China got a lot of money running through it. And money has a terrible effect on the human being. It is, and I can understand it because I know what it did to me, but it didn't have but about 5-6 months after that. And I'm happy. I got it back together. Nobody else did. Can you imagine out of everybody you know? Nobody got only one nigga did it. That's bad math. I mean, that you get your humanity back and you say to yourself what the old white man used to say. What was that about? What is it if a man gain the world and lose his own soul? The same thing. I'd heard it and I was saying, I don't like that. I showed y'all a picture, I think. So look at that nigga there. That is one mean nigga. And I was definitely that. So I've had experience with this money and I know what people look like and act like when they get into those stages. And I would say we'll still pray for China and hope that they, that they come around, that they realize we can only eat so much food and we could only, that they say we're going to bring the other people with us. Even if when we give money, we're going to be careful because we don't want to give it to no nigga that's going to run him crazy. Yeah, they got China has a big responsibility. And I still think that they're still not savable, that's wrong. But I still think they got a chance. Boss man don't have no chance. Boss man don't have the ethics, the morals, or nothing. Boss man is done for. If you're pulling for boss man, I think you're on the wrong team and you're going to be dissatisfied. I don't think he's going to make it. Don't look like it. But he might pull it off. It don't look like it. There's too many things to do. He don't have nobody with him. The white folks run off and left. Man, why don't y'all say, can't you do something right? This is right now, the white folks.
47% is against Biden right now. It's dropped 47%.
Oh, yeah, no, I remember that poll, but it's even worse. Yeah, I mean, look, that's a poll, but look at the prestige, the global prestige. Trump done just messed up everybody. What happened? Everybody's repeating the Vietnam syndrome type thing. But it's worse than that. This is worse than Vietnam. Because they had more time and they had this, they could have did that, right? And they did everything wrong. That's why it's all over. Because if you take out the chart on what could go right and what could go wrong, they did everything wrong. They didn't do nothing right. That means When Allah pull the plug, you know that string that holds this whole thing together, and you pull that and it's finished? That's what's happening. It's too late. Boss man is like, people are laughing at him, and you ought to see all the white folks that's done moved to China and stuff like that, you know. And Chinese aren't stupid. The people, at least up to last week, the Australians, a little bit of the New Zealanders, some of the semi-big white folks, China had to cut them off on every, and them white folks is, please, they not saying it out to the public, but they saying, buy our wine. The Australians, they got wine, and Australia got beef, New Zealand got beef, China won't buy it. And they got all that there. They said, we ain't buying it. And they ain't losing nothing. In other words, they're squeezing they behind. They're going to come around because they can't just flop and starve to death. If they don't, it don't make no difference to China. China is already okay. That can help you and it could hurt you. It could run you crazy. Historically, nobody has escaped this China syndrome. There was one people, not Babylon. That was Babylon. That was, Nineveh. Yeah, that's. Yeah, it was Nineveh. Other than that, nobody. And that was only for a while now. That was just a little while. So I hope I answered the question. I hope I answered the question. The same rules apply to China that apply to Babylon, America, and everything else. If they do right as they're coming up and they get up there, Allah will keep them up there a while. If they do wrong, they'll be right back down with everybody else soon. They will, and they will be surprised. They'll be shocked. I know the Chinese embassy pay a little attention to us because, since day one, Long March and all that. Like I read from papers back in 81, 82, so that's there. We was equating it to our Long March here. We equated longevity to here. We protracted struggle, except our protracted is longer than their protracted, because their protracted struggle was only 40, 30 something, years. We in the year 50 something now, just us, right? We're in the year, hey man, we've been protracted here. Yeah. But see, we got a different struggle here. So anyway, if there's no more questions or comments, just remember, Tuesday, everybody come take notes with their harassment, have your harassment stuff. We're not going to meet like this. I'm going to meet here, and I'm going to be talking, and y'all going to be hollering and stuff like that. Cause as much fitna, we'd have fitna session. And no, we'll do that for several times, and then when we have time, we'll look at it, we'll review it, and look at it, and study it. No, you have to study. We've been studying everything. It's just not been public. How do you think we've been operating? Not successfully, but we've been studying what we've been doing. This is not just, we just get up here and start talking. Hey man, it's been plenty of games. Sometimes we tell most of the truth, part of the truth, some of the truth, lay little psychological traps. We've been having a little fun here. Yeah, it ain't been no, it's fine. It's nice. But on this is a period of training. We got to get trained up for California. We're going to have a different session than we did before. And we're going to go all the way to the point legally and everything else. Yeah. So, alhamdulillah. Are there any questions or comments? Nothing else. Okay, alhamdulillah.